Racist.
These ideas are A-okay.
That's racist too.
What?
Doing this with your hand. If you do this, you're racist. A-okay. A-okay. A-okay.
Enough! You are diluting my racism, and I don't like it. Racism is hatred. It's looking down on someone as subhuman simply on account of the color of their skin. You water it down like that, it becomes nothing. I mean, if everything is racist, nothing is.
Have you guys heard about critical race theory?
Get
Get this, we don't have to do anything to be racist. CRT says we're racist simply because we're white. That's all it takes. CRT.
There's no racism, it's pure laziness, plain and simple, and I reject it. This here is for the black students, and this here is for the white students. Why? Because I'm racist. Ah, come at me.
Very forward thinking. I love this.
Oh, come on. Dynamic.
It's funny because it's true. The critical race theory woke mob literally took the job from previous racists. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski of WeAreChange.org. Lots of very important news to get into today, especially with Dr. Fauci being in hot water with a lot of his billionaire friends, as of course they keep inspiring more sociopathic behavior as all of their theories, which they said were truths, are coming out to be absolute lies, especially with the specific case happening in Texas right now. Man, so much to get into, but channel. But before we do that, plus a lot more, the small clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is from a full video by the Babylon Bee. They only have 152,000 subscribers, and this latest video is just as hilarious as it is true. Definitely go check out the channel. The link to them is down in our description below. And we have to understand that this critical race theory woke ideology that truly promotes racism is a byproduct of the extremely divisive rhetoric, along, of course, with the divide and conquer agenda that has been dominating the U.S. mainstream media that, of course, also gets pushed onto you by big tech algorithms so you can't escape it. An ideology that, of course, wants to cancel and fire anyone that dares to even question it, as perfectly highlighted by this first story of American Airlines announcing that they are investigating a pilot because of his own political opinions that he expressed outside of his job. Those opinions weren't even controversial. The pilot just spoke out against an effort by his local school district that was implementing critical race theory. The same critical race theory that was perfectly described by the beginning clip of this video. Since, of course, many elements of it are racist, as well as absolutely backwards, and share the same ideologies as some of the most bigoted groups out there in the world. And now people are being targeted by major corporations for daring to even question it, with the threat of losing their livelihood. And while everyday middle-class average people are trying to do whatever they can to pay the bills to make it by without getting canceled for the smallest infraction, there's another set of people that live by a completely different set of rules, and that, of course, is the billionaires like Bill Gates, who, if we're going to have a conversation about canceling someone, he should definitely be the prime focus of it right now, as, of course, Bill Gates, according to many accounts, had troubles picking up the ladies, failed many times at trying to get women to go to bed with him, but loved hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, a man who procured children to do unspeakable things with to very powerful people. Now, of course, we talked about this story extensively in yesterday's video. It is definitely worth a watch here on youtube.com/wearechange. And today, we found out that Bill Gates was doing so to reportedly hoping that Epstein would get him a Nobel Peace Prize. This is according to a former staffer, and in my opinion, I think this was put out there in order to obfuscate the true reasons why these two had such a blossoming, important relationship with each other. Bill Gates, according to many accounts, couldn't get laid. The two, Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates, also have extensive ties to the larger ideas of population control, and they're also in the super rich club. Another thing we have to remember here is that Bill Gates has access to a huge amount of money that is able to get him a lot of PR representation, or in other words, media manipulation. When you have all the money in the world, you could literally buy off the press, and he has done so extensively to promote his businesses, private enterprises like fake meat and other rushed medical procedures, with talking points puppeteered by the biggest mainstream media establishments in this country. And this could be one reason why Vice News is trying to obfuscate this larger story as some kind of made-up conspiracy theory by unreputable groups. This is literally what Vice News is talking about, which has absolutely no relevance to this at all, and is by and large trying to shift the focus away from Bill Gates and towards this obscured online group that again, has no relevancy here. You can't muddy the waters when you have such an extensive tie between some of the most awful human beings on the face of this earth. In related billionaires having too much money and power news, we have the creator of Dogecoin coming out recently and calling Elon Musk a, quote, self-absorbed grifter. This is, of course, Tesla suspended payments in Bitcoin because of, according to Elon Musk, carbon emissions, which, of course, many people point to market manipulation, which, of course, many people say will benefit Elon the most, while, of course, hurting everyone else. In other related sociopathic billionaire news, we learned that anti-Second Amendment activist and media mogul Michael Bloomberg has had more of an extensive relationship with Chinese propagandists from the communist Chinese state, as new photos have emerged showing the years that they've had a relationship. And as we of course know, Bloomberg has always praised communist China, and even specifically, according to The Intercept, tried to ruin journalists who reported on China critically. This, of course, was all done with the Bloomberg media empire, which is a, quote, trusted name in news and deemed an authoritative source here on YouTube. And, of course, other big tech platforms that allow such dangerous activity and clear violations of their policies. Meanwhile, this YouTube channel, well, of course, we are put under a magnifying glass and have the highest amount of scrutiny against us, while, of course, getting the opposite of promoted like the mainstream media is here on this platform. And that's one of the reasons why we started LukeUncensored.com, a video platform where I get to say whatever I want. I don't have to censor any words out of my mouth. I could fully say whatever I want. Today's going to be a doozy, definitely focusing on Dr. Fauci and the two specific things that we cannot say on this platform. Two specific words. If we say here, we would automatically have this video deleted. We're not going to say those words. We will on LukeUncensored.com, specifically focusing a lot on Dr. Fauci, which, of course, we're going to talk about right now as well, as, of course, he is one of the major thought leaders in our society right now that keeps calling for the centralization of power. Ideologies shared by other goofballs that promote almost the same epithets as represented by the latest efforts by New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, that was happy to announce medical procedures at the next sports ball event in New York City. A lot of the information shared by these individuals seems arbitrary, seems made up. Usually there's not a scientific explanation behind them. And as many times as we have learned throughout this entire saga from last year, that there's constant flip-flopping on major issues, whether it's to wear a mask or not to wear a mask, complications with indoor dinings, outdoor dinings. How many times could they tell you conflicting stories within a matter of days without even giving sound explanations to why there were so many major shifts in their policies? And today we have another major shift, perfectly exemplified by Dr. Fauci, who recently said that him wearing a mask is not theater, and now saying that it is theater.
Low. And that's the reason why in indoor settings now, I feel comfortable about not wearing a mask.
As, of course, the CDC just released new policies that bravely AOC, David Hogg, and other insane people are saying that they won't abide by. Yes, YouTube, by the way, you should punish Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, David Hogg, and the remaining states in America right now that are not following the science and defying what our medical professionals are saying. You know, you made a clear policy. If you violate the medical professionals from doing what they say, you get the axe. You get deleted. You get suspended. You get deplatformed. You get depersoned. Where are you with David Hogg and AOC? Where's Google going to cancel AOC for not following the medical recommendations by our professionals? Professionals that, of course, a lot of sadly unstable and unsuspecting people listen to blindly and follow their orders very obediently, as perfectly represented by this teacher that was verbally abusing and swearing and cursing and trying to hurt this child as much as she could for not following one of Fauci's previous statements that he just contradicted himself on. And again, when we look at the lockdowns, the mandates, the regulations, the restrictions that were put into place by Dr. Fauci, that were called on to be implemented by him, there's now new scientific data and preliminary information showing that it had absolutely zero effect on this larger sickness, as perfectly represented by this latest news coming from Texas that just reported 0 deaths from this sickness after, of course, getting rid of any lockdowns, any restrictions, any mandates just 2 months ago, which, of course, was heavily criticized by the mainstream media that was saying that there was going to be an absolute bloodbath in Texas, that there was going to be pain and suffering that was insurmountable, that this was going to lead to so many people dying, and 2 months later, 0 deaths in that state. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, aggressively attacked the state for doing so, calling it, quote, Neanderthal thinking, and looking at the results, looking at the data, looking at the science, it was the opposite of that. Neanderthal thinking is quarantining the healthy, while billionaires got to open up their businesses and everyone else had to shut down. These were the policies instituted by these utter buffoons calling for more centralization, more government, more restrictions, more lockdowns, more mandates that absolutely are just abusive to the general public. This is according, again, to my own personal opinion. You may think what you want. This is just how I see it. States that, of course, share this centralization ideology, like California, are still following suit against the science, announcing that they're going to have another month of masks, which, again, even the CDC disagrees with them. WikiLeaks famous whistleblower Chelsea Manning even recently came out and described how her time in solitary confinement prepared her for lockdowns, which she compared her stay in prison to, describing, of course, the long-term effects that will be cataclysmic from the lockdowns and social isolation that many people face. And as the numbers are going down dramatically, even in the United Kingdom, where deaths are now 20% below the 5-year average of all deaths. As cases, hospitalizations, and deaths go dramatically down, the U.S. presidency, along with the mainstream media, is still putting on a full court press with a lot of this absurdity. Dr. Fauci recently decided to get into the race game, trying to divert the attention off of him and towards, quote, racism. PBS is also doing a fine job at that, implying that ending mask mandates is racist somehow. It's not. It's ridiculous, idiotic thinking that only promotes more idiotic behavior. The Biden administration is still using very strong rhetoric, saying that people will be paying the price if they don't take the medical procedure that he recommends for everyone. As, of course, the Biden administration is also at the same time in the Supreme Court arguing that police officers barging through your door without a warrant to take away your defensive tools is something that the police should be able to do. Yes, the Biden administration is literally arguing right now that cops should have the right to enter your home without a warrant to take away your firearms from you. And again, this is what happens when you have centralization as your main goal and your main focus, since it's really the most out of touch and ignorant people, along, of course, with the people gaining the power, that promote this ideology. It's absolutely stupid and regressive, according to my own personal opinion. Do you think I'm wrong in any way, shape, or form? Let me know why down in the comment section below. I always appreciate the kind of intellectual, trolly comments that are there. I love the constructive criticism. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and that's why I like engaging with you guys. I'm going to be engaging more with people on LukeUncensored.com. I'm trying to figure out a way to merge a social media platform or merge a way where, because I love traveling and I love meeting people, I'm staying in someone's driveway right now that watches this YouTube channel in Key West, Florida, and I'm having a blast. I love meeting you guys, so I'm going to be setting up a platform where I could communicate with you guys more specifically on LukeUncensored.com. This is really the only way to do this. We have to move away from platforms that prevent the larger truths from getting out there, which again, sadly, I have a lot more to say. I just can't say it here. And that's okay. LukeUncensored.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.